مرة أخرى أعزائي المشاهدين الأفاضل، لقاء آخر من سلسلة اللقاءات التي نسجلها كيف أسلم هؤلاء. معنا ضيف كريم من الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية وسألقي على حضرته بعض الأسئلة. Can you kindly introduce yourself to our viewers?
My name is Jalaluddin Abdul-Latif, and I am the Public Relations Secretary in the Research Triangle Jamaat of North Carolina, USA. And I'm here enjoying the Jalsa Salana for UK at their new site.
This meeting is specifically, we would like to know about your journey from Christianity to Islam. If you could kindly share with us this wonderful experience of yours.
Well, I was born in a family of 5 brothers and 1 sister, and my mother and father were raised us all as Methodists in the Methodist Christian religion. And I was baptized in a Christian church, and up to the time of about 13 years old, when I first started getting a little job or something in a summer job, I never felt comfortable with the teachings of this Trinity and Jesus being God. So I stopped going to church, and my mother didn't force me or anything, but after that, as I grew older, I in fact gave up religion altogether. I started out a Christian, then became nothing, and then I accepted Ahmadiyyat at 30 years old in the New York City Jamaat.
How did your journey start with Ahmadiyya?
Well, as I said, I was born and raised in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and a dear friend of mine, Akbar Tashaka Ahmadi, who went to school with me. We were in the military together, then we came out and lived in New York. And this is around the time I was married and had lost my job at the New York Telephone Company, went on strike. And he was buying books, reading them, and giving them to me to read, and we discussed. So at that period of time, it was a lot about the political unrest in America with this hippie movement and civil rights movements and all this type of thing. And we were reading Eastern cultures. So he came across the philosophy of the teachings of Islam in this bookstore in New York City, Wiser's bookstore, I'll never forget. And he read the book and gave it to me. And he gave it to me with the added addition that he said, this book seems to tie all of this Eastern stuff we've been reading and nails down facts. He said, everybody else seems to skirt around about being a creator and whatnot. He said, you have to read this book. And I read it. And for the first time, I tell you the truth, that was the first time I had a comfortable feeling about life after death. How the Promised Messiah explained that in that book really put me at ease, because as I said, up until this time I'm not believing in anything, because the Muslims that were exhibiting Islam in the New York area at that time weren't doing anything better than what I was doing as, an agnostic, In fact, when he took me out to the Ahmadi mission, which was in Jamaica, Queens at the time, and introduced me to the Ahmadis there, this was the first time I'd ever seen a Muslim in New York smile at a stranger.
All right.
Because every Muslim, it seems their persona was this stern look, to look like, they know something that you don't know. And these Ahmadis in the New York area, were just disarming, charming. And so my friend Akbar, as I said, grew up with me, but he had changed his name while we were in the military. And he never exhibited any kind of exceptional behavior until he started associating with these Ahmadis, as far as religiously speaking. Okay. So when I saw the change in him, I started being serious about, my life more. And as I said, he started me going to the Qadam meetings. And the more I was exposed to the Ahmadiyya concept of Islam, the more I was convinced that this was what was missing in my heart. So,
if we can go back to your days where you were Christian and then you become Ahmadi, which thing have you really gained, not only in terms of understanding and belief? I mean, if you look back now, I mean, which things you would have loved to do?
Which things I would love to do?
I mean, if you go back in terms of time, those days when you were a Christian and now that you become Ahmadi, which thing maybe is the answer the Ahmadiyya has given you to all these queries and questions you had long ago?
Well, as I said, the first thing that turned me against the Christian concept was that somehow God, who was born in the world as I was born into the world, could be God. I never could understand the concept of the Trinity, and this is at the early age of, say, 12, 13 years old. And somehow, you know, I never was comfortable with that, and it always left a feeling that how could somebody believe in something that they're not comfortable with? And Ahmadiyyat was the first thing that gave me a comfortable and a logical explanation on God. And the explanation that the promised Messiah gave on Jesus and not dying on the cross, I'm telling you, was in that time was revolutionary to me. I said, this made so much sense. And since then, it's amazed me how many of those books of the philosophy of Islam I've given out to people that have not come into Ahmadiyyat with that, because you obviously have to you have to accept that you're going to destroy a belief that your families and generations have come along with all these years.
Okay. If you have to give some advice to the people from the Christian faith to study Islam thoroughly in a better way, what that advice would be?
My advice would be, particularly in this day and time when Islam is being drugged through the media in such a negative way, that the only way you'll see the truth in this day and age is through the Ahmadiyya Muslim interpretation of Islam. This concept of Islam and this presentation of Islam is by far what they say the true Islam, because nowhere is Islam's spiritual aspect, the application of religion in the sense of what religion really is instead of a political entity, is only found in Ahmadiyyat as far as I'm concerned. And I've known a number of Muslims in my day who were non-Ahmadis, and without a doubt I can say with all honesty that Ahmadiyyat is the true Islam.
And do you still meet some people from the Christian faith, and what's your experience with them? Do you find them open-minded, or they're not willing to give up certain misunderstanding about Islam specifically?
Well, when I was working, I'm retired now, but when I was working in New York, these kind of conversations came up often in my office, and I always tried to apply the idea of calling somebody to God rather than just out now trying to convert somebody right off the bat to Islam. So if you believe in your religion, then you should practice your religion. If you're going to argue with me about the shortcomings of Islam, and as opposed to Christianity, I would have to ask you, how come you're not practicing the Christianity? If you believe so much in the Christianity, you should practice it. I believe in Islam, and I'm trying my best to practice it. And I can see by the behavior of my co-workers and whatnot that you do not believe in Christianity, because you wouldn't use the language you use, you wouldn't be in the clubs drinking, you wouldn't be eating the pork, you wouldn't be doing all these things that your book tells you you shouldn't do. And if you believed in those things, you should practice them like I'm trying to practice them. So there's no logic in you trying to tell me about it. Well, anyway, with this line of conversation going on, it was soon I didn't have much conversation going in the office because, you know, they left me alone. Because nobody, it seems like, when I'm dealing with a Christian on logic and reasoning, the first thing or the last thing rather, they will come up with it, with this belief of, you know, Jesus is the Son of God and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost it can't be explained, so they would tell me, well, you just have to believe. And the way I've learned in the 30 years I've been in Islam, I can't believe in something that doesn't make sense to me. And I found with that cop-out kind of response that you just have to believe on faith, it's just that, a cop-out. Because I found that Christians will research, investigate, and go to the depths of anything concerning their taxes, their medicine, or whatever it is. But for somehow, they want you to just believe on faith in religion. Now, we know that the Christian application to life, what we see here in the Judeo-Christian West, that everybody knows the corruption of the government, they know the corruption of the church. Just look at what's going through the scandals that are happening with that. There's all levels of the government from the top down is corrupt. You know this is be a fact, and all of these people are trying to tell you that there's something wrong with Islam. You know, this don't make sense to me, and this is illogical for me to just close my eyes and say I believe in something that's just on faith. Now, if they're lying to you about the politics, they're lying to you about history, they're lying to you about economics, how is it all of a sudden when they tell you about religion, they're not lying? That doesn't make sense to me. You know, so that's
brilliant. We admire this assessment of yours on interpretation. And with this, we end this interview. We'd like to thank you for your precious time, and may Allah bless you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu
Pleasure's all mine. Wa alaikum assalam.